Ceann the rental market continues to spiral out of control. The latest Residential Tenancies Board rent report shows that last year rents increased by 9%. In fact, in 14 separate counties, the rental increases for new rental tenancies was double-digit inflation. And the worst affected counties were Roscommon and Waterford, with rental increases for new rentals of 25%. Significantly, in Dublin, we've seen the end of the COVID flattening of rents, with a very significant upward increase of 9% for new rents. And that means the average cost of a new rental in Dublin today is €23,634,000, an astonishing sum of money. In fact, if you track back through the RTB reports, since 2011, rents in the capital have increased by over 100%. They've increased approximately 15% since the Minister took office. And of course, behind all of these figures, there are very, very real people, and the impact of these rising rents is very severe. A very significant number of renters, particularly those who are losing rental tenancies and trying to secure new ones, are experiencing severe financial hardship, and that's on top of all of the other rising costs of living. We've seen, for example, today in the newspaper stories about 1 in 4 households having difficulty purchasing groceries. 73% of households surveyed in the last Red C poll indicating that they were spending less each week on groceries to make money go further. And of course, we know the impact of the rising cost of fuel, home heating, petrol, etc. We've also got large numbers of people who are simply unable to save for a deposit or have to go through extraordinary measures to do that. And also those older renters, people who have lost a family home because of relationship breakdown and are back in the rental market, are facing an increasingly precarious future. And as the Minister knows only too well from Friday's homeless report, the crisis in the private rental sector is also driving levels of homelessness. It's leading to rising levels of presentations. About 50% of all notices to quit are vacant possession notices from landlords selling up. But also, it's led to a dramatic collapse, over 50% fall in exits in the last year, as people simply have nowhere to go once in emergency accommodation. And the question we have to ask is, why is the rental crisis getting worse? In my clear view, it is government policy. There has been an over-reliance on the private rental sector for social housing, HAP-RAS, placing enormous pressure on limited supply, failure to deliver cost rental over the last 3 years, 0 in the first year, 65 last year, possibly 700 this year, depending on the numbers, nowhere close to the thousands that are required. And an exclusive focus, particularly here in Dublin, on high-end, lower design quality build-to-rent, which is saturating so much of the market. And outside of Dublin, literally nothing new to rent is coming on the market. And of course, as the Minister knows, single property landlords are leaving in droves. So, Minister, this can't continue. It has to stop, and we need a radical change of direction. And the measures outlined in our private members' motion today signal just that. We need the emergency ban on rent increases for 3 years. Renters can't take any more. We have to reduce rents by putting at least a month's rent back in their pockets through a refundable tax credit, something you were in favour of before the election but have gone silent on since. We also need to introduce real tenancies of indefinite duration, not the smoke and mirrors change that you introduced last year. And crucially, we need at least 4,000 cost rental tenancies annually. For decades, housing policy experts and advisors to government have been saying we need cost rental on scale. You're not even going to reach that scale at the end of 2026, because only by then you're targeting 2,000 units, nowhere close to enough. And with respect to the rising levels of homelessness, we urgently need you to reintroduce the tenants in situ scheme. I know you announced some increased level of flexibility. I'm not convinced that that is what our local authorities need. If you can expand on that, I'd welcome it. But local authorities need to be told to use the capital budgets that have been allocated, subject to the cost ceilings, subject to the quantity surveyors reply. But any family with a HAP-RAS tenancy that's at risk of homelessness, the local authority, subject to the usual rules, should step in, purchase the home and prevent them from becoming homeless. So, Minister, I have to say your record over the last 2 years speaks for itself. You are not doing enough, and the crisis is going to continue to get worse. And one of the worrying trends in recent times is you keep blaming everybody else. You blame COVID, you blame inflation, you blame Ukraine. And the Gavin Riley show, you seemed to be blaming migrants coming into the state. If that's the case, a very retrograde step. And like Owen Murphy before you, your policies are the core of the problem. They have to change. And if they don't change, we're going to have to get you out of office, because that's what renters desperately need and rightly deserve.